Hi, this is Matthew again. Today, I wanted to talk to you about the concept of prepping. Is this a biblical concept? Should Christians practice prepping? In recent years, the concept of prepping, or preparing for emergencies and disasters, has gained significant popularity among a wide range of individuals. From extreme survivalists to more cautious individuals looking to be prepared for unexpected events, prepping has become a common practice for many people around the world. What does the Bible have to say about prepping? Are there principles and teachings within the pages of Scripture that can guide us in our preparations for the unknown? In this article, we will explore the concept of within a biblical context, examining the relevance of stewardship, preparedness, and caring for others in the context of emergency planning and disaster preparedness. We know that stewardship is a biblical perspective. One of the key principles that can be found throughout the Bible is the concept of stewardship. Stewardship is the idea that God has entrusted us with resources and responsibilities that we are called to manage wisely and effectively. This concept can be applied to many areas of life, including our finances, our relationships, and yes, even our preparedness for emergencies. In the book of Genesis, we see the first example of stewardship in the story of Adam and Eve. They were placed in the Garden of Eden and given the responsibility to care for and cultivate the land. This demonstrates the idea that God has entrusted us with the care of the earth and the resources it provides, and we are called to be good stewards of these gifts. In the New Testament, the parable of the talents, as told in Matthew chapter 25 verses 14 to 30, also reinforces the concept of stewardship. In this parable, a master entrusts his servants with talents, a form of money, and expects them to use and multiply them wisely. Those who invest their talents wisely are rewarded, while the servant who buries his talent out of fear is condemned. This parable teaches us that we are called to be good stewards of the resources and abilities we have been given, including our time, our finances, and our skills. This principle can also be applied to our preparations for emergencies. By taking proactive steps to prepare for the unexpected, we are demonstrating good stewardship of the resources and responsibilities that God has entrusted to us. Should Christians practice preparedness? Another important principle that can be found in the Bible is the call to be prepared. Throughout the Scriptures, we see examples of individuals who heeded warnings and took steps to prepare for potential dangers and disasters. In the story of Noah and the Ark, see Genesis chapters 6 to 9, we see a clear example of preparedness in the face of a catastrophic event. God warned Noah of the coming flood, and Noah faithfully followed God's instructions to build an ark and gather supplies to survive the deluge. Because of his obedience and preparedness, Noah and his family were saved from the destruction that wiped out the rest of humanity. Similarly, in the book of Proverbs, we are urged to be diligent and prepared for the future. Proverbs chapter 6 verses 6 to 8 tells us to consider the ways of the ant, which prepares its food in the summer and gathers its supplies in the harvest. This verse reminds us of the importance of planning ahead and taking steps to ensure our well-being in times of need. In the New Testament, Jesus also speaks about the importance of being prepared for unexpected events. In Matthew chapter 24 verses 42 to 44, Jesus tells his disciples to be on guard and ready, for the Son of Man will come at an unexpected hour. This passage serves as a reminder that we should always be prepared for the unexpected, whether it be the return of Christ or a natural disaster. Another reason to be prepared is the concept of caring for others. In addition to stewardship and preparedness, the Bible also emphasizes the importance of caring for others in times of need. The concept of community and mutual support is a recurring theme throughout the Scriptures, and it is an essential aspect of biblical prepping. In the book of Acts, we see the early Christian community coming together in times of crisis to support one another. For example, in Acts chapter 2 verses 44 to 45, describes how the believers shared everything they had, selling their possessions to give to those in need. This spirit of generosity and mutual aid is a key aspect of caring for others in times of need. Similarly, in the book of James, we are reminded of the importance of caring for the vulnerable and marginalized in society. James 1:27 calls us to look after orphans and widows in their distress and to keep ourselves from being polluted by the world. This verse highlights the importance of showing compassion and care for those who are most in need. By integrating the principles of stewardship, preparedness, and caring for others into our prepping efforts, we can create a holistic approach to emergency planning that is grounded in biblical wisdom and compassion. This means not only preparing ourselves for unexpected events, but also being ready to support and help others in times of crisis. While the principles of stewardship, preparedness, and caring for others can be found throughout the Bible, the concept of prepping itself is not explicitly mentioned in Scripture. As a result, there are a variety of interpretations and perspectives on how these principles can be applied to modern-day emergency planning and disaster preparedness. One interpretation of biblical prepping is that it is a wise and responsible practice that aligns with the teachings of Scripture. Proponents of this view argue that by taking proactive steps to prepare for emergencies, individuals can fulfill their role as stewards of God's resources and demonstrate their faith in God's provision. They see prepping as a practical and sensible way to ensure the safety and well-being of themselves and their families in times of crisis. On the other hand, some critics of biblical prepping argue that it is motivated by fear and anxiety, rather than trust in God's providence. They believe that prepping can lead to a sense of self-reliance and a lack of dependence on God for protection and provision. Instead of focusing on storing up supplies for emergencies, these critics argue that Christians should rely on God's guidance and trust in His care for their needs. Given these conflicting ideas, what are some historical examples of biblical prepping? Throughout history, there have been numerous examples of individuals and communities who have practiced the principles of stewardship, preparedness, and caring for others in times of crisis. These historical examples serve as inspiration and encouragement for modern-day believers who are seeking to integrate biblical principles into their prepping efforts. One notable example of biblical prepping can be found in the story of Joseph in the book of Genesis. Joseph, the son of Jacob, was sold into slavery by his brothers and eventually rose to power in Egypt, becoming the second in command to Pharaoh. During a time of famine, Joseph used his wisdom and foresight to store up grain and provisions, which ultimately saved the people of Egypt and his own family from starvation. The story of Joseph demonstrates the importance of being proactive and prepared for potential disasters, even in times of prosperity. By storing up grain during the years of plenty, Joseph was able to provide for the needs of the people during the years of famine. This example serves as a powerful reminder of the value of foresight and planning in times of uncertainty. Another historical example of biblical prepping can be found in the story of Nehemiah in the Old Testament. Nehemiah was a Jewish leader who played a key role in the rebuilding of Jerusalem after it had been destroyed by the Babylonians. In the face of opposition and threats of attack, Nehemiah and his fellow workers took practical steps to defend themselves and their city, while also caring for the vulnerable and marginalized in their community. Nehemiah's leadership demonstrates the importance of combining preparedness with compassion in times of crisis. By taking steps to protect themselves and their city, while also showing care and concern for the most vulnerable members of their community, Nehemiah and his fellow workers were able to successfully rebuild Jerusalem and create a safe and secure environment for all its inhabitants. What are some modern-day applications of biblical prepping? In today's world, the principles of stewardship, preparedness, and caring for others can be applied to a wide range of emergency planning and disaster preparedness efforts. From stocking up on food and water supplies to creating emergency evacuation plans, there are many practical ways that these biblical principles can be integrated into modern-day prepping strategies. One modern-day application of biblical prepping is the practice of storing up food and supplies for emergencies. By following the example of Joseph in storing grain during times of plenty, individuals can ensure that they have the resources they need to survive in times of scarcity. This can include stocking up on non-perishable food items, water, medical supplies, and other essentials that may be needed in a crisis. Another modern-day application of biblical prepping is the development of emergency communication and evacuation plans. Just as Nehemiah and his fellow workers took steps to defend themselves and their city from potential threats, individuals today can create plans to protect themselves and their loved ones in times of danger. This may include identifying safe locations to shelter in place, establishing communication protocols with family members and neighbors, and practicing emergency drills to ensure readiness in times of crisis. What are the benefits of integrating biblical principles with practical prepping strategies? There are many benefits to integrating biblical principles with practical prepping strategies. By aligning our preparations with the teachings of Scripture, we can create a holistic approach to emergency planning that is grounded in faith, wisdom, and compassion. Some of the key benefits of integrating biblical principles with prepping include: first, spiritual growth and maturity. By incorporating biblical principles into our prepping efforts, we can deepen our faith in God's provision and care for our needs. This can lead to greater trust and reliance on God in times of difficulty, helping us to grow in our relationship with Him and develop a stronger sense of spiritual maturity. Second, personal responsibility and accountability. Biblical prepping encourages individuals to take responsibility for their well-being and the well-being of others in times of crisis. By being proactive and prepared, we can empower ourselves to respond effectively to emergencies and disasters, while also demonstrating care and concern for those in need. Third, community engagement and support. By practicing biblical prepping, individuals can strengthen their connections with their communities and create networks of support and mutual aid. By working together to prepare for emergencies, we can build resilience and unity in times of crisis, ensuring that no one is left behind or forgotten. Given the challenges of integrating biblical principles with practical prepping strategies, what should we be doing? While there are many benefits to integrating biblical principles with practical prepping strategies, there are also some challenges to consider. One of the main challenges is balancing the need for preparation with a sense of dependence on God's providence. It can be easy to become overly reliant on our own efforts and resources, rather than trusting in God's care and provision for our needs. Another challenge is the potential for division and conflict within Christian communities over the practice of prepping. Some believers may view prepping as a sign of fear and lack of faith, while others may see it as a practical and responsible way to ensure their safety and well-being. Finding a balance between these differing perspectives can be challenging, but it is important to approach the topic with humility, understanding, and respect for diverse opinions. In conclusion, the concept of prepping within a biblical context is a complex and multifaceted topic that requires careful consideration and reflection. By exploring the principles of stewardship, preparedness, and caring for others found in the Bible, we can gain insight into how these teachings can inform and guide our preparations for emergencies and disasters. By integrating biblical wisdom with practical prepping strategies, we can create a holistic approach to emergency planning that is grounded in faith, wisdom, and compassion. Ultimately, the goal of biblical prepping is not just to ensure our own survival, but to be a light in the darkness, a source of hope and support for those in need, and a reflection of God's love and care for His creation. I hope this video provides some information on examples from the Bible where some of our biblical warriors prepared for times of turmoil and strife, and gets you thinking about what you should be doing to prepare for trying times. God certainly warned Noah, Joseph, and others in the Bible about times that were coming, and they used that knowledge to prepare to survive those times. Just like these biblical heroes, God has warned us about the coming trying times. The Bible also tells us about the rapture and how it will be used by God to save the saints. However, the question is how much trouble will precede the rapture. The Bible certainly tells about a time of trouble that precedes the rapture, and shouldn't we be ready for that? Just like Noah and Joseph, God will protect us, that He also expects us to take steps to be ready. Didn't Noah build an ark to save his family and part of God's creation? Didn't Joseph store food for 7 years before the 7 years of bad crops? To watch other videos on issues that are important to Christians, go to our website at nehemiahreset.org or to our rumble.com channel. Thanks for watching and have a great day.
Thank you for watching this video from Nehemiah Reset. We hope you found it informative and helpful. Our mission is to assist Christians in developing a biblical worldview as it pertains to relevant cultural issues. We seek to inform Christ's followers, equip them, and mobilize them into action to vote for their biblical values and to actively engage the culture. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe to our Rumble, YouTube and Facebook channels. You can also visit our website at nehemiahreset.org to learn more about our vision, our resources, and our upcoming events. Thank you for your support and God bless you.